you can't have a goal and do this that's different than everybody else around you and do the exact same thing as everybody else around you. You really can't.
Trusted and proven, pushing the limits on every shot. We never fear failure. Join us as we set ourselves against the odds, bringing you cutting-edge voices in every industry. This is the Ironclad Podcast.
For today's show, we're excited to bring you a conversation with Andrew Arrabito. Andrew is a retired Navy SEAL, the owner and founder of Half-Face Blades, one of the world's most badass knife companies, a consultant for Hollywood action movies, and a hunting enthusiast. Recently, the Ironclad team hung out with Andrew in Lanai, Hawaii, while filming an episode of Eagle Industries' Eagle Beyond series. In this podcast, we spoke about his story and the values that have led to his success. We also discussed why he thinks every person should experience an ethical hunt.
Hey, I think that most people know you from one way or another, right? So they either know you through your Instagram, through DEF CON, through the blades you make. Let's start a little bit and just kind of talk about your story a little bit, even before the teams. And we talk about this in the video piece, but what was it that naturally drew you into the military, and why did you want to pursue that?
I mean, I think like most young dudes that run around in the woods picking up every stick and making it a gun, you know what I mean? Yeah. Starting that young, like from there, crawling around the bushes, pretending, I don't know what it was I didn't watch a lot of war movies or anything as a kid, but somehow, guys are attracted to knives and guns, you know what I mean? So just from there, and then, I don't think I really looked into the military much, maybe till 6th, 7th, 8th grade, you know what I mean, where we're studying war history and American history, and with American history you have all the different wars, and World War I, World War II, Vietnam, and stuff like that. So that was really interesting. I like history, I like geography, all that stuff, American history. So I think, like I was saying, as well as my mom's cousin had got me a Navy SEAL workout book in around 6th or 7th grade, you know what I mean, and that's kind of where it just looked to try to, climbing nets and skydiving and swimming in the ocean, and like, it's all really exciting stuff, you know what I mean? And then they're traveling, going overseas, they're shooting every gun imaginable, using cool gear, right? So that was an attraction right there, the fun part of it, So then I just looked into it, through high school, and I looked into the different forces from Army to Air Force, the different special forces, and I did a little deeper studying and where the locations are, and the SEAL teams, because I do love water too, that was a little more attractive. And then they're based on the coasts, which is way more attractive than being in Fort Benning or somewhere stuck, out there. So I don't know, like I said, that all those little things combined just seemed like an attractive thing to do. I think, trying to think if there was anything else I wanted to do, you know what I mean? Like in high school, thinking about my future, my goal was to be in the SEAL teams. I'm trying to think if I ever second guessed that goal, but I don't know if I ever said I wanted to do anything else. I'm not sure.
One of the things that I think is cool about you and what you do is everything you do, from your career in the military to what you're doing now, it's hard things to do. Even going out on hunt expeditions, doing the businesses you do from Half-Face to DEF CON, it's hard stuff, but it's really aspirational stuff. You found a way to combine passion and hard work, and it's almost a pursuit of hard. Like you're sitting in a brand new shop right now. What is it that draws you to that?
I think there's a lot of easy routes out there. You know what I mean? There's a reason why there's a million coffee companies, because you just have to design a label and slap it on a bag. You know what I mean? Besides, Black Rifle coming in at the right time, realizing it's, they scaled and obviously they do stuff in-house, but where do you go with that? You know what I mean? You're against millions of other people doing that same thing. It's not really, it'd be hard to find a niche, you know what I mean? And then it's like, well, do you come from a coffee background? I don't think so. So you got to learn right then and there too. I think me naturally doing knives is just growing up as an outdoorsman and knowing the end user capability of a knife and what it can do and what it should do. So that knife thing kind of came, like I was saying, from grinding blades as a little kid and making, Native American tools and stuff like that. And I didn't plan on making knives. I was hungover one day when I decided to. And I was like, man, maybe I'll just grind some knives for my SEAL buddies that are still active. So, along with other business stuff like that, finding a niche or meeting people that have already in those industries that have created a niche or a branding and they're really good at it. I have a few real close buddies that have been really good at what they've done, whether it's shoe company stuff, Supreme, my buddy Berto with DEF CON. And I've been able to look and see what they've done and how they did it. And, I think starting business is complicated depending on what it is, but sometimes it's really not that complicated. People get into it too quickly and they don't have a background for it or a pedigree for what they're doing. It sounds fun. That doesn't mean it won't be successful. It just means the on-the-job training and research is going to be compounded in that much more. You know what I mean? By being an end user with tactical blades, cooking a lot, and being an outdoorsman, I had an upper hand, in the end with that. I don't know, right? I'm always brainstorming, and there's a million good ideas out there, right? And it's a matter of taking those good ideas, writing them out, seeing what you have in your own arsenal that could actually apply or help you start a brand, right? So if I have a shop here and I have CNCs, I can, and I got buddies who ride motorcycles, I could sit down with them, or I got buddies that are firefighters, and they could be like, oh, let's make this certain type of tool. And I have the capability to do it here. So really, I could start another brand and still use what I have in-house and the knowledge I have now. You know what I mean? I think when it comes to, a challenging business or something like that, I think you could start something that's really challenging, but that might not be fun for you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think these things have kind of come naturally, whether they're complicated or not, just due to maybe my background.
Was there ever a point where you were nervous if you were going to make it or not? From the time you're jumping out of a plane, are you nervous? Is it the same kind of concept with your business? Are you ever nervous that you're going to make it, or is it just something you accept?
I think that's always in the back of your mind. Like, obviously, when you're running a business, you're looking at financials too, and okay, X amount's going to employees, X amount's to insurance, X amount is rent. That all goes into it. I think that I've kind of taken smaller steps in business just because I'm not a businessman. You know what I mean? And I've seen people overextend themselves, whether they're get a massive loan and now it's 5 years to pay off and their business plateaus. You know what I mean? And now they're having more trouble and they have to get rid of employees. I think it's natural for us to be like, I have a great idea. It's going to be very successful. I think being positive like that is very good, but also being realistic that, there is failure and there is, you could create something where it's just the field is, there's so many people in that field, in that business. The stress comes from thinking of the future versus the present every day. I think, my stress on a daily level when I'm here and I'm working is much lower than when I'm like, okay, I still have these 2 machines to get done and built. Then I got to figure out programming. It's really, I stress pretty hard sometimes. I try not to overstress, but that's just common having 12 employees, and I want what's best for them, and I want to pay them more, and I want to grow. You know what I mean? But along with that is part of growing isn't just coming in the shop and making knives every day. Part of growing is getting out there and, like you were saying, hunting and going on hunting trips, going on fishing trips. That networking is one of the biggest things out there. Word of mouth. Getting knives in the right people's hands that use them, where I get that great feedback. You know what I mean? That's an unstressful part of the job, but it's still working, and I enjoy that part. I really enjoy all of it. I really enjoy my employees. They're close buddies, veterans. But that's also why, I want what's best for them too, and I want their career development to grow within the business.
You've done, when we were in there, you had some badass blades that you were making. I've seen some stuff you've made on Instagram and through everything else. Some even have ashes in them.
Yeah.
What's been your favorite piece you think you've made so far?
Oh man, that's tough, dude. We've done some really, Charlie Keating, the fourth, he was in the SEAL teams and he was killed over Mosul. So the platoon brought his pants covered in blood that he was wearing when he died. They donated a few more pair of pants and a few American flags they had with him. And he was a waterman, so they donated bone. And so I ground the bone up, put it in the resin, then I layered his bloody pants with other platoon pants, guys in the platoon, and with American flag, and made my micarta. So I ended up making, I think I made maybe 36 knives with the handles made out of his pants, which turned out they're just, they're Crow Scout blades, but that's like holy grail, of knives. I did that for some firefighters that died during 9/11 in the towers. I've done that for the owner of Bull Hill up in Washington. It's a place where the snipers go and do trips. And I've done it for working dogs, done it for just other people's dogs and pets. They've sent their ashes in, that. And then, we've made knives for guys to cut their babies' umbilical cords when they're born, which has been cool.
Let's get back to where we were talking, like you get these opportunities, right? You get to go. You've done some stuff in Hollywood. Tell us a little bit about what you got going on out there and what that's been like for you.
Right after I got out, I went up and just did some voiceover stuff for Michael Bay for Transformers 3, and then kind of got to know him. And then he just kept inviting me back to work, like extra work and advising and stuff like that. So we did Transformers 4, and then he asked if I want to do 13 Hours, the Benghazi movie. So, when you're doing that, there's times where they want to pull you in and you're running around, whether you're shooting guns or you have lines or whatever it is. So kind of got involved in that and did some advising, worked on Turtles movies and then Transformers 5. And I met a guy working on a show called The Last Ship. This guy, Garrett Warren, he's a stunt director and second unit director up there. He's done tons of amazing movies. He did the first Avatar. I did Logan with him. And he's one of my best friends to date. So when they started Avatar 2, 2017, he hit me up to come up there. So I had met Jim Cameron before, had taken him shooting at the SWAT facility, me and some of my buddies. So I saw him and he was like, man, good to see you. It's been a while. You want to stay on and be military tech advisor. So I'm not going to say no to that. So I've been on Avatar 2 for, I guess, since July 2017, back and forth from LA. They're filming in New Zealand now. So doing that, then with Garrett, he does stunts. So I've learned stunts. I let the real stunt guys do the heavy stunts. I just do the little. But that, and then he was like, well, since you're here, I'm going to make you play a role. So now I'm a 10-foot tall blue bad avatar in the next movie.
Nice.
Yeah.
Is it better? Is it more fun being the bad guy or the good guy?
I think I've always been the bad guy. Oh, yeah. No. 13 Hours, I was a good guy. Kind of.
You're just an inconsiderate good guy, right?
Yeah. Just a little rough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool.
I've played dead bodies. I've been, in like The Last Ship, I was a dead body 5 times.
Didn't in Logan, you got stabbed in the gut, right?
No, I got my arm broken off. This little girl froze my arm and broke it off.
That's cool.
Yeah. But so nice. I'm continuing, I'm still on it. They're over filming in New Zealand. So we'll be finishing up that this year and then starting 3. So
what's next for you?
I don't know, man. Bear hunting in Alaska. I don't know.
One thing that I want to go to before we go into the next section, you had mentioned in the piece, and we didn't really dig into this, but you drew a parallel when we were talking about some other stuff that I won't get into because I'll let people watch it. But you said it's similar to how you feel about the American flag. And that even made me start thinking differently about the flag, taking some of the parallels of what you were saying before. Can you talk a little bit about what the flag means to you? Because ever since I've watched the piece 15 times during editing, I'm thinking, man, I wonder what that stance is.
Well, look at all the guys. The deep feeling of love and care and support, and you would die for your buddy. All those things combined, and of what we discussed, and guys who loved me more than I loved myself, you know what I mean, that would have died for me. We're years into that. That's been known. Those feelings have been known by many, many guys going to war before me. You know what I mean? And it's guys viciously, protect the representation of that. The representation of someone dying for me, or I could have not come home. The level of gratitude, and then the level of like heartbreak for your buddies dying. That all, to me, that all is under that flag, right? That's what that flag stands for. It stands for freedom, of course, but the colors and everything in it all also stand for all those that went before us, all those guys, right, that fought for either another country's freedom, for our freedom, for protection, and ultimately they fought for each other, whether they believed in a certain cause or not, and guys died, right? Have you ever seen Band of Brothers? That's pretty good. Like, I'm trying to think of, war movies like, Black Hawk Down. You got Saving Private Ryan. And some of those are really good in showing how rough it is and the depth of emotion. Maybe it's just my correlation, but when you're doing that stuff and you're going to war and you have buddies dying, you may not come home, you're wearing those flag patches. That's your country. That's your people. Those are the brothers next to you. And I mean, it's sacred to me. That sacrifice that other guys have made is really sacred to me. They did it for that freedom. And that's exactly what that flag represents. It represents all those people that went before us to protect those that aren't serving. You know what I mean? And then, of course, for me, it's just it's that much deeper because I've had that loss. You know what I mean?
Power is literally everything to us. When you're a professional traveling as much as we do, we can't sacrifice on power to get the perfect shot.
The last thing you want to be worried about is your battery.
We're very selective with the brands that we trust.
Not sure if we're going to have a charging station, but we have an entire drawer full of core batteries.
Knowing that we have power, that we can trust, when we're out here on the road, it makes all the difference.
Power is something that's easy to take for granted until it fails.
You risk losing your data, you risk losing the stuff that you just worked so hard on.
Without proper power, our equipment, no matter how great the technology, are paperweights.
Just wrapped our chute in the Philippines, tested them in the elements, the heat, the wind, the rain.
Usually when it's really cold, power gets zapped like that. It's freezing out here, and this power's been holding all day.
We rely on powering products that are designed to meet our rigorous demands, so we never miss a moment.
So we have the primes, we have the minis, different power solutions for different power needs.
They last forever. We got a visibility on how long we have on them.
Intelligent Power and air travel certified.
To charge our phones and charge our devices.
There are some cool things Core has in the works. Stay tuned for the Helix. As the technology of our trade gets more complex, we're confident that the power we use will not only match it, but help bring it into the future.
The story doesn't stop for anyone, and that is why we choose Core.
We get people from all over that listen to this, from filmmakers to entrepreneurs to anybody who's just trying to improve themselves. So this can be fun, this can be simple, but there's just a couple quick questions for you.
Cool.
So first one is, what is the worst advice you've ever received?
Damn, that's a tough one, dude. There's so much. There's so many. The worst advice that I've ever received, probably when I was going to SEAL training, they were like, hey, don't raise your hand for anything, don't volunteer for anything, right? And in reality, then you're just a gray man who slips by and you don't make an impact at all, which I didn't obey that. I got yelled at the first day, you know what I mean? And then I was just like, you know what, fuck it, like, I'll take the heat. So I'd volunteer to, they would be like, hey, we need volunteers to go lay in the ocean so the other guys can eat. Like, all right, fuck it. You know what I mean? So then they would be like, okay, everybody who volunteered, go eat. Everybody else go lay in the ocean. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
I think the worst, not that someone said it was like, oh, just, actually, this is what it means to me, right? The way you said it, like, hey, don't raise your hand, don't volunteer for anything, just get by. Like, what a load of crap. Who wants to just get by? Who wants to be the guy in the back in the crowd that just walks with the group? And you know what I mean? Like, why not be the person out front carrying that flag, waving it? Like, why not be in the front line? You know what I really respected about when I had like new guys in the SEAL teams was not the little gray guy who just did what he could to be okay. You know what I mean? I want that guy who's aggressive. He's in front. He's really smart. When he makes a mistake, like it's usually a little bit of an impactful mistake, but when they do good, they do amazing. You know what I mean? I want that guy who's aggressive, who wants to learn, who wants to get it. Like I said, he makes those mistakes, but he also does great things. You know what I mean? Like, he works harder. He's looking for more to do. He's learning more. His career development is more. You know what I mean? And eventually, when he learns all those things, he's going to be way higher in life, whether it's in the SEAL teams, in business. You're gonna know more. You'll be capable of more. You're gonna know the answers to more. And then when problems arise, you're gonna know how to solve them before other people. So don't be that person who just slips by, who doesn't, try to take that next class or qualify for something else, or oh, my plate's full, but hey, you know what? Let's put a little more on it. I'm a problem solver. I'll figure it out. I'll work a little longer. I'll work a little harder. I'll do a little more research. Don't be that person who just fucking slips by. What's that going to get you?
What's your biggest regret?
I don't know. I mean, do I regret, not focusing on my relationships? Because look where I'm at now. My relationships now are good. It could have changed my future. I don't know. I think I could have probably been, better in relationships, I guess.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? With people I loved. Maybe spent more time. That's a hard one. You know what I mean? Outside of that, other regrets. Probably just, when you really think about who loves you and the impact that you have on others, being more mindful of your time and spending more quality time with your family. I wish I'd spent more quality time with my mom. I try to now. She lives far away, but I think when you're younger, you've been with family until you're 18 or whatever age, and it's like, time to get out. And you soon realize that they're the greatest people on earth, those that love you the most, and who cares about the rest. So I think I could safely say, my bigger regrets were, not spending enough time, with some close family.
Yeah, it's a good one. So if you were to talk to a young listener who's ready to go conquer the world, who's listening to this podcast and doesn't know how, what would you tell them?
I've mentored a few guys. A Marine kid comes in mind, and rearing to go, want to join the Marines. I was like, all right, I suggest you get through and try to go to MARSOC or join the Army, try to go SF, because it's just a better lifestyle in my opinion, or it's a lifestyle that I wanted. So I wanted that to him. It's a good lifestyle. And I was like, focus on that career development, focus on being really good at what you do, focus on learning more, focus on more career schools. Don't get married. That's going to take away from it. You can have a girlfriend, fine, but again, get to that level of your goal, and then you can take the time to build those relationships or get married, have kids. You know what I mean? No, of course not. He's got to learn the hard way, gets married, has a kid. I won't go into his personal stuff, but like the amount of times I've seen guys, do something like that before they get to their goal. You know what I mean? Before they settle out in a career they enjoy. Everything's going to take away from that, right? You could have a rad girlfriend and she adds to it and empowers you. You're still going to feel bad then if you're not spending time with them. It's still going to have a little bit of a strain. You know what I mean? I think, go crush the world, but you gotta not quit on anything then. And because younger people don't have the life experience and have had as many hardships as when you're older, you realize how to get through them, and you realize they're going to end one day and a new hardship's going to start. And so guys are so willing to give up or quit or, when smaller hardships come, just because they don't have anything to compare them to. I don't know, man. That's an individual basis thing. I would just say, if you have that a career in mind, you have a goal in mind, like, don't let anything affect it. Don't let anything take away from it. There's going to be, because that goal being the SEAL teams, it was my goal and what I want to do. Yeah, I cut certain people out of my life. Yeah, I didn't spend a lot of time with my family till later in my life. You know what I mean? Listen here, that's a sacrifice. And I look back and I can say, I regret that I didn't spend a lot of time. I'm making up for that time now. You know what I mean? And it was a sacrifice, it's selfish sacrifice to join the teams or go do a certain career. Lucky I can make up for it now and didn't die overseas. But I still think had I let other people take parts of me when I was going for that goal, it could have affected the outcome. Yeah. So it's kind of cut it. You can love somebody, but you may have to cut them out of your life, until you reach that goal.
Yeah, I hear you. Get after it while you don't have the baggage.
Yeah,
So here's the last question. So this one we like to do, and keep in mind, I kind of briefed you on some of the different types of listeners. If you had to give someone a challenge, a 1-week challenge to start right now, that would change them for the good, what would it be?
Mental or physical?
Either one.
A 1-week challenge.
Or it could be anything. It doesn't have to be mental, physical. It could be whatever.
Damn. I would say a 1-week challenge would be to get up at 4:30 and go for a 4-mile hike run every day. You know what I mean? And then eat really good. That's on the physical side of it. I'm not sure. It's so individual based. Getting up early kind of sucks. Some people are good at it. I force myself to get up early and go do things just because I have so much to do, and I can get up and knock 2 hours of something else before everybody else starts their day. You know what I mean? That across the board, look what Jocko teaches, and these other guys, like, that kind of gives you that little foot forward. And it's not the easiest thing to do, but you can accomplish more if you're trying to accomplish something. If you're not trying to accomplish anything, then I don't have no advice for you.
No, it's good. I think I think it's like you said, it's a physical thing, but it's also, I think mentally what you get out of doing that, you get an edge. You get confidence boost. You get a lot. So that's a good one, man.
You kind of, depending on what your goals are, you got to live a little differently than those around you. Like in high school, when I was running all the time, my buddies drove everywhere. They drove to work. I ran to work. They would go do something, and I'd be like, hey, like, I'm going to go hiking. I'm going to go run. I'm going to go work out. Like, I just lived, and it showed, if you took a month in my life along with my buddies around me that I still spent time with, you would see a difference in the way I was living my life. I wasn't doing what everybody else was doing all the time. And I actually became kind of proud of that I stood out, not shined. I'm not saying I was better or worse. What I was doing was different. You know what I mean? You can't have a goal and do this that's different than everybody else around you and do the exact same thing as everybody else around you do. You really can't. Like, you can't only work out 2 days a week because your buddy's working out 2 days a week. You got to work out 5. If your goal is, X. You know what I mean? So you're going to naturally, if you're going towards your goal and what it is you have to do physically, mentally, what you got to study, how you have to work out, you'll noticeably have to turn down parties, or you'll noticeably have to turn down trips, or you'll noticeably have to not hang out with your buddies as much. You know what I mean? Because you're goal oriented, and that takes focus, and that takes a little different lifestyle. And it's kind of a proud thing when you notice you're living a little bit differently and doing something a little different than everybody else around you. that's really cool. You know what I mean? And that's kind of like, hey, a pat on the back, you're sticking to it.
All right, action. So we'll do our wide and we'll do our close up here.
Scene 101A, take 3.
Guys, is this my trailer?
Let's do one of these and then we're good. All right, you ready? Oh, that storm is blasting.
That sun comes out for real right there. That's worth the fight.
3, 2, 1.
This one is something that I wanted to talk to you about, and this is really cool because it's something I believe in too. And we talked a little bit about it in the production, but you're passionate about ethical hunting. You know, we talked about that. So for someone listening to this who maybe lives more of an urban life and really hasn't ever even thought about hunting, really doesn't have one thought one way or another, make your argument for it and what it does to change the way they see the world and the way they operate.
Well, I mean, I don't kill the animal just because it's fun to hunt. I don't kill the animal because it's fun to kill an animal. You know what I mean? I think I'm doing my due diligence and honoring, honoring where my food comes from. You know what I mean? Why not have that feeling of sadness when you smoke an animal and then you cut it up, bring it home? You, instead of somebody else is smashing a cow's head in, sawing it up for you and putting it on your plate. Like, where's the honor in that? So yeah, I like animals more than people. People choose to do good and bad. You know what I mean? We can't eat people. So, I can't hunt them to eat them at least. I really think that, you're really honoring, if I'm gonna be a vegetarian, okay, fine, but I'm not. And my lifestyle, I like my meat, and I like, I work out a lot, and I like my meat protein. You know what I mean? So I really look at, go back in the day, like Native Americans, look at the culture they had. They actually just killed what they needed. They didn't want to over hunt. On that, modern day, states do a really good job of understanding the amount of animals in their state and regulating that. And if there's too many, with wolves multiply and they crush elk. And so you can hunt wolves in some areas now. You can't hunt in certain areas because of the elk population or deer population. So states have a pretty good handle on it. The conservancy side of it, sometimes you go hunt areas where they're overpopulated, right? And it has nothing to do with you just wanting to kill an animal to kill an animal. There's a side of it where you're doing the best for the land, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I know you've gotten a lot out of it, and I've gotten a lot out of it in the, just anytime I get out there, it's a powerful experience. So, I think it's always important anytime we can give a ode to it and kind of introduce our listeners, especially, you're on the West Coast, but, my industry, filmmakers, anything in that world that,
there's diehard vegetarians everywhere, which is great. I grew up vegetarian, actually. We just had a massive garden, and I still like to garden. Like, if I had an acre, it'd be all garden right now. You know what I mean? But I'd still hunt my animals, and then I'd have my meat and potatoes.
Yeah.
So, part of the conservancy thing, people get really butthurt. People aren't as butthurt as, guys going to hunt an elk and then butchering it and it's in the freezer for the winter and they're eating it. People get pretty upset with what they call trophy hunting. I understand that aspect of it. I don't want to go over and hunt a lion to put a lion on my wall. There's another side of that there's a good movement of trying to teach that side of hunting where, there's places in Africa, right, where a couple elephants start getting bad and they start crushing a village and they're screwing the village up, eating everything. Well, those elephants, they do the same thing here. If a bear attacks somebody, in Yosemite, they try to either one, get that bear, get it out of there, or they got to put the bear down. So over there, when an elephant does that, it happens on a regular basis. They'll have a list of people who want to hunt an elephant, and so they contact these groups and say, hey, we have a couple rogue elephants. It's X amount of, let's say it's $50,000, right? They collect that, they go take the animal. All that meat right? That $50,000 goes to the area and that conservancy. It goes to teaching the rangers anti-poaching, right? It goes to the facility, which, has 30 jobs there for locals to take care of the baby animals when poachers hunt the adults. You know what I mean? It goes back, all that meat goes to all the villagers all around. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of good on that side of it, and people really don't like to hear that for some reason. I get going somewhere and shooting a perfectly good animal that you can't eat. I'm not about that. That's on the person. But I totally understand the aspect of trophy hunting where the money goes, and it actually helps. It's like a negative that creates so much good. You know what I mean? And if people really want to understand that, they can look into that more. There's a lot of stuff out there. There's an online, so Modern Huntsman talks a lot about that. It's this guy, Tyler Sharp, who's a photographer, and he started Modern Huntsman. And there's a book that goes through, and there's interviews, there's cooking stuff. He's been to Africa a bunch of times. He's just extremely knowledgeable on the aspect, and he's kind of trying to bring that knowledge, to, a hunter isn't just some fat dude with a cigar in a blind that he puts food out for a white-tailed deer. You know what I mean? That hunting exists. To me, that's not fun. But he's kind of presenting, there's really a lifestyle to hunting. There's a lot of amazing people out there that hunt, that supply their own food for themselves, that give money to charities and foundations that hunt, conservancies. The amount of money that's raised through hunting, goes to each state and does a lot for the state. So there's so much good in it. The information's there. If somebody's just, hey, this is terrible, without doing the research, well, they're stupid. Do the research, get to know it. There's arguments on both sides, but there's a lot of information out there for people to go get.
And that was Andrew Arrabito. You can check out more about him by following him on Instagram @SpecOperator. And don't forget to check out Into the Fray on our YouTube channel. In each episode, we hang out with adventurers, trailblazers, and real-life heroes, and take you to some of the coolest places in the world. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next week.